Wow, it's really kind of amazing to think about how fast technology is changing these days, isn't it?
It really is.
I mean, you want to keep up, you want to be in the loop, but it feels like almost every day there's something new, something bigger on the horizon?
Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of.
It really is. And that's exactly why we're here today. Think of this as your shortcut, like your express lane to figuring out what's what in tech, especially what's coming up, what could really be shaping our lives in 2025.
Yeah, and we've been diving deep into some of the most interesting emerging technologies, the opportunities that come with them, obviously, but also like the big shifts, the changes they could bring, and really soon too.
Yeah. And our goal for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. We want to cut through all the noise, all the hype, and get to the heart of what some are calling the craziest tech trends, what they really mean for 2025. It's like your personal cheat sheet, your briefing on what matters. And I mean, think about it. When you consider how much has changed just in the last 10 years, with smartphones and the cloud and all the connected devices everywhere, it's kind of clear that things aren't slowing down.
Not at all. If anything, it's accelerating.
Yeah. The next few years, it feels like, could be even more transformative than what we've seen. So where do we even begin? What's the first stop on our deep dive today?
Well, let's start with something that's already having a huge impact. Artificial intelligence, AI. It's everywhere these days.
Yeah.
Healthcare, finance, how we shop. And by 2025, we're expecting, well, a quantum leap in what it can do.
Okay. AI. It's definitely a buzzword. We hear it all the time. But let's get specific. Gartner, the big research and consulting company, they've got a pretty big prediction.
All right.
They think AI is going to be embedded in something like 75% of enterprise software by 2025.
That's right.
That's massive, right? That's up from 40% in 2023. So what does that actually mean for us, for how businesses work, for our everyday lives?
It means that AI is going to be baked into pretty much everything. It's not going to be this separate tool anymore. It's going to be how things get done. It'll be driving efficiency in so many ways, probably leading to things we haven't even thought of yet.
Okay, so lots of possibilities. But what are some concrete examples? I know the healthcare field is one where we're expecting to see some major changes.
Absolutely. I mean, think about the advancements we're expecting in how AI can help with diagnosis and treatment by 2025. That's going to be huge.
Yeah. The example that comes to mind is Google's DeepMind, right? They've got AI that can predict breast cancer with like incredibly high accuracy. I mean, that's a glimpse of what's possible, right?
It is. It's not just about getting a second opinion from a computer. It's about AI becoming like the gold standard, the most accurate way to analyze medical images. And that's just one example.
Yeah, it's not just about spotting illnesses either, right? I mean, the material we've been looking at also talks about personalized medicine becoming much more sophisticated, like treatments tailored to your specific genetic makeup.
Exactly. And all of that guided by AI analysis. It's really exciting stuff.
It is. It sounds like AI is going to be playing a huge role in keeping us healthy, but it also sounds like it's going to be key in keeping our finances secure, too. The information we've been looking at really highlights how good AI is getting at detecting fraud.
Oh, absolutely. These algorithms can analyze mountains of transaction data all in real time. Yeah. And they can spot patterns and things that are out of place that no human could ever catch.
It's like having a superpower detective working around the clock to protect you and your money.
Exactly.
So AI, poised to be a real game changer by 2025. Now let's jump to something completely different, something that, well, honestly still feels a little bit science fiction-y. Quantum computing.
Ah, yes, quantum computing. This is definitely a mind bender.
It is. It's a tough one to wrap your head around. For those of us who aren't, quantum physicists, what's the key thing to understand? What makes quantum computers so different, so powerful?
The simple answer is that they have the potential to solve problems that are just impossible for even the most powerful computers we have today, the traditional ones. And it all comes down to how they work, how they use these things called qubits. A regular computer bit, it can be a 0 or a 1. But a qubit, it can be both at the same time until it's measured.
Okay, so it's not like flipping a coin where it lands on heads or tails. It's like the coin is spinning in the air, and it's both heads and tails at the same time until it finally stops.
That's a good way to think about it. And that lets them do these crazy complex calculations all at once, instead of one step at a time.
Okay, so lots of potential. But where are we likely to see the first big real-world uses of quantum computing? The material we looked at mentions cryptography, online security.
That's right. One of the early impacts could be in online security. Quantum computers could theoretically break a lot of the encryption we use today to keep our data safe online, things like RSA encryption. IBM has even said that by 2025, quantum computers with 100 stable qubits, which is, still a challenge to achieve, but they could start to pose a real threat to those systems.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? It could create some vulnerabilities, but it's also pushing research into new types of encryption that can withstand quantum attacks.
Exactly. It's a race against time in a way.
Now, beyond online security, the material also talks about material science as another area where quantum computing could have a huge impact, right? And this connects to sustainability, which is a topic we've been hearing more and more about.
Yeah, this is where it gets really exciting. Being able to actually simulate how molecules interact, like at the atomic level, that could lead to completely new materials, more efficient batteries, superconductors that don't lose any energy, better solar panels. It's huge.
Yeah. And if we think about the need to develop more sustainable technologies to move away from fossil fuels, quantum computing could really help us get there.
It could be a game changer. And we're already seeing early progress. Google's quantum team, they've been doing simulations of simple chemical reactions. It's just the beginning, but it shows the potential.
And then there's drug discovery. That's another area where the material we've looked at says quantum computing could make a massive difference, right? Right now, developing new drugs, it takes forever and costs a fortune.
It does. It can take 10, 15 years to bring a new drug to market, and it can cost billions of dollars. But imagine if instead of all those years of lab work, you could simulate how different drug compounds would work in the body. That could speed things up tremendously.
And it could lead to new treatments for diseases that we're still struggling with. I mean, that's incredible. But I guess the big question is it all too good to be true? The material does point out that quantum computing is still in its very early stages, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There are huge challenges, like keeping those qubits stable, making sure the calculations are accurate. There's a whole race going on right now to achieve what they call quantum supremacy.
Yeah.
Basically building a quantum computer that can do something that no regular computer could ever do.
So it sounds like we might not all have quantum computers on our desks by 2025, but the progress that's being made now could lead to some massive breakthroughs in the not-too-distant future.
Definitely.
Okay, let's shift gears again. Let's talk about another area where there's a lot happening and where there's a real sense of urgency: renewable energy.
Absolutely. I mean, this is crucial as we try to move away from fossil fuels, right?
Yeah.
To address climate change. The IEA, they're projecting that renewable energy sources are going to make up 35% of global electricity generation by 2025.
Wow. And solar power, that seems to be on the verge of a real breakthrough, right? These perovskite solar cells have been getting a lot of attention. What makes them so different, so potentially game-changing compared to the traditional silicon solar panels?
Well, the big thing is efficiency. Perovskite solar cells, they have the potential to be way more efficient. They could get to 30% efficiency compared to silicon solar cells, which are around, 22% on average. Plus, they're cheaper to make. And you can print them on flexible surfaces. Imagine that. Solar panels that could be integrated into buildings, even clothing.
It's like solar power becoming part of the fabric of our lives.
Exactly. And companies are aiming to commercialize perovskite technology by 2025. That could really bring the cost of solar energy down.
Okay, cheaper, more efficient solar power. What about wind power? What advancements are happening there?
Oh, wind power is seeing some huge advancements, too. We're talking massive wind turbines, some as tall as skyscrapers, each one capable of generating 15 megawatts of power.
Wow, 15 megawatts from a single turbine.
Yep. And they're not just limited to land anymore. There are floating wind farms that can be placed in deep water, opening up whole new areas for wind power generation. We're going to see more of these projects coming online by 2025.
That's amazing. But of course, solar and wind power, they're not constant. The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow. So that brings us to energy storage, which is, essential, right? The material we looked at pointed to solid-state batteries as potentially becoming a big deal by 2025. What's so special about solid-state batteries?
Well, the big advantage is that they can store more energy in a smaller space. They have a higher energy density. Plus, they charge faster.
Okay, so more power, faster charging. What kind of impact could that have?
Well, think about electric vehicles. Imagine an EV that could go 50% farther on a single charge. Companies are working on solid-state batteries that could do just that, and they're aiming to have them ready by 2025. That would be huge for EVs.
Yeah, That would be a game changer for sure. And it would make a more reliable electric grid possible, powered by renewable sources. So it's all connected, right? Better ways to generate clean energy, better ways to store it. And it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the impact it has on society. Less pollution, new jobs.
Exactly. The projection is for 14 million new jobs in the renewable energy sector globally by 2025. That's a massive economic shift.
Okay, let's move on to another area that's been in the news a lot. Self-driving cars. Is 2025 really the year when they become, well, a normal thing on the roads?
It could be.
Mm.
The expectation is that by 2025, we'll see more vehicles with level 4 autonomy. That means they can handle pretty much all aspects of driving in most conditions, no human needed.
Wow. And this isn't just about like making our commutes easier, right? There are huge implications for safety, for traffic, for how we design cities.
Absolutely. Think about this. 90% of road accidents are caused by human error. Self-driving cars, they could drastically reduce that number. Some studies say by as much as 80%.
That's a huge improvement in safety, and we're already seeing some early examples of fully self-driving cars, right?
We are. Companies like Waymo, they've got fully autonomous ride-hailing services up and running in some cities,
Mhm.
and they're looking to expand.
So it's not just a fantasy anymore, it's actually happening. And then there's the potential for self-driving cars to change how we think about cities. Less parking, less traffic, maybe even fewer cars on the road overall.
Exactly. We could see cities designed for people, not cars,
Hmm.
and shared autonomous vehicle fleets. That could reduce emissions significantly.
So lots of potential benefits. But there are still challenges, right?
Yeah. There are regulatory hurdles, public acceptance issues, and concerns about job losses for drivers.
Mm.
We need to figure all that out before self-driving cars become truly mainstream.
So 2025 might not be the year of the self-driving car, but it definitely feels like we're on the cusp of a major shift in transportation. Okay, one last trend to cover, and this one is really out there. Brain-computer interfaces.
Ah, yes, BCIs. This is definitely the most futuristic technology we're talking about today.
It really is. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction. But the progress is real, right?
It is. And by 2025, BCIs could start to move beyond the lab and into the real world, especially in healthcare.
The potential for people with paralysis or conditions like ALS is incredible. I mean, we saw that Neuralink implant last year that let someone control a computer cursor with their thoughts. That's mind-blowing.
It is. And by 2025, we could see even more amazing things. People controlling prosthetic limbs with much more precision, maybe even communicating through text-to-speech systems just by thinking. There's also research into using BCIs to treat mental health conditions.
So it's about overcoming limitations, but it's also about expanding possibilities, right? The material we've been looking at also talks about BCIs changing how we learn. Imagine being immersed in a virtual reality learning environment controlled by your thoughts.
Exactly. Imagine learning history by actually experiencing ancient Rome, or learning surgery by performing a virtual operation. It would be incredible. And beyond that, there's the potential to enhance our cognitive abilities. There are companies working on non-invasive BCI devices that could improve memory and focus. We could see those used in classrooms by 2025.
That's wild. And for entertainment, imagine playing a video game where you control the character with your mind.
That's already happening. There are companies developing BCI headsets for VR gaming. By 2025, that could be a mainstream thing.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. AI, quantum computing, renewable energy, self-driving cars, brain-computer interfaces. It feels like 2025 is shaping up to be a pivotal year for technology.
It does. And it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the impact these advancements will have on society.
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about, but also a lot to think about carefully. What about beyond 2025? What's the longer-term outlook?
Well, the possibilities are pretty mind-boggling. More advanced AI, maybe even something close to human-level intelligence. Quantum computing helping us unlock the secrets of the universe. Maybe even direct brain-to-brain communication. It's all on the table.
It's incredible to think about. So much potential, so much to explore.
Absolutely. And it all starts with what we do now.
That's a good point. So to our listeners out there, which of these technologies are you most excited about? Are you ready for a world of self-driving cars? Or does the idea of controlling technology with your mind really capture your imagination?
Think about it. Which of these advancements do you think will have the biggest impact on society in the coming years?
It's a big question, and ultimately, how these technologies develop, how they're used, that's up to us. It's a future that's coming fast, and we all have a role to play in shaping it.
We do.
And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the tech trends of 2025. We'll be back soon to explore more exciting development.
Until next time.